from practicing law to practicing peace. It's been just over a year since my professional high met my personal low. Last February, I left my job as senior exec and general counsel of a healthcare startup. I was beyond burnt out, wrung dry by the most intense year of my professional life, preceded by decades of grinding it out, making it happen, people-pleasing, and other misadventures. I sat on back-to-back Zoom calls for hours on end, often forgetting to eat. At the end of the day, it was time to catch up on Slacks and maybe even do the real work. I'm ashamed to admit the number of times I would snap at my 3-year-old son when he'd plead, "Mama, off your phone." I canceled plans with friends, neglected to check in with family, and my beloved meditation practice sputtered from regular into sporadic. When it was time to sleep, my mind would buzz with all the things I needed to get done the next day. More than once, I woke up to a voice screaming in my head that I needed to quit. Instead, I'd work more and longer days and expand my scope. I quit once, but somehow stayed on for 3 more months. How did I let this happen? I was addicted to feeling needed and to being the consummate team player. Ironic, since I never actually played team sports. The dutiful eldest daughter, I couldn't stomach the idea of selfishly prioritizing myself and letting others down. I wasn't one of those people. And part of me still did enjoy the intellectual challenge and advancing a mission I found personally important. Before ultimately accepting my resignation, my bosses wisely told me to take a 2-week vacation and completely check out. They'd accept whatever answer I gave at the end of 2 weeks. A few days in, I noticed I could finally breathe and actually be present with my family and feel some joy. I knew I couldn't go back. It hadn't always been like this. Flashback to 2016, I was the edgy one in my big law firm for even considering jumping into startup life. Cue the endless Theranos jokes from my stodgy firm colleagues. And most of my Harvard Law classmates were still on well-worn paths. Firms, government, big corporations. I wasn't exactly a revolutionary. I'd just chosen a bumpier path on the same straight and narrow. Back then, I loved both law firm and startup life. I loved solving thorny problems. Check out this snippet from my old corporate bio. Allie Canton enjoys helping teams navigate legal and regulatory obstacle courses and high-stakes negotiations. Working at what felt like light speed, mucking through uncertainty, accepting smart risks, and collaborating with brilliant and generally kind-hearted people to build businesses legitimately lit me up. For the most part, between 2012 and 2022, I was actually having fun. So last February, when I told my coworkers that I wanted to leave the startup life to focus on family and community, they didn't believe me. Okay, but really, where are you going? They'd impatiently ask, waiting for the inevitable LinkedIn post announcing my next big role. The truth? I was fibbing a little. Beyond family and community, I wanted to focus on spirituality and joy. Words that felt too idealistic to say out loud in my polished, high-achieving circles. But I'd reached a personal inflection point, and no title, no raise, no equity stake could satisfy the deeper questions tugging at me. Who am I when I strip away the armor of achievement? Turns out, way more of a mess than I'd like to let on. How do I want to be in the world? Not glued to a screen for 10 hours a day while the Hudson Valley's rolling hills mock me from my window? What actually sets my soul on fire? Wait, are we allowed to ask that in late-stage capitalism? Beyond the shiny titles I'd collected over the years, I'd packaged myself into something tidy and impressive, easily digestible, highly laudable, or, if inconvenient, neatly hidden. Even what I called myself reflected this split. Allison was the polished pro, the diplomat par excellence. Allie was the spiritual seeker known to dance on tables from time to time. While I'd had both Allie and Allison phases as a kid, I'd committed to Allie since about 7th grade. I even decided to use Allie professionally after graduating college. Then came my first job interview. I graduated without a job lined up, and thanks to an old friend, I managed to finagle an interview to be a research assistant for a professor of public health. Never mind, I hadn't taken a science class since 11th grade. Thank you, Amherst College and Springfield Public Schools. Sitting across from me, the professor scanned my resume and raised an eyebrow. Allie's not a very professional name, she noted, before offering me the job. Cue nearly 20 years of this personality split. She later admitted that her daughter, who was a few years older than me, also went by Allie, and she didn't want to project their complicated relationship dynamics onto me. This was one of the least outrageous things she'd say. Over the years, this divide deepened into a painful disassociation. It was time to shed an old identity and try some new ones on for size. I want to integrate all of me. I'm woefully behind on my severance, but I'm told that I should make an innie-outie joke here. This Substack is a place to reclaim the full spectrum of who I am and explore the facets I've been reconnecting with. A mother raising 2 loving, liberated kids, a longtime meditator, a student of non-dualism and the philosophy of being, including Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and other explorations of the nature of consciousness, a Reiki master and Tai Chi, Qigong, and contemplative flower arranging practitioner, an unrepentant bookworm. As a child, my parents often scolded me to put the book down. A UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, aka UFO nerd, an occasional poet, a Hudson Valley resident committed to community building, and yes, a healthcare and startup lawyer. As I write these words, I'm struggling with the temptation to compartmentalize and go all in on, read, excel at, that one big idea. Part of me wants to focus on exploring spirituality and the nature of consciousness. Another part's excited to connect with other burnt-out high achievers who are looking to create space in their busy lives to find serenity and meaning. For now, at least, I'm going to fight the urge to narrow this down. In doing so, I hope to honor my various pieces and the process of becoming. At a minimum, it should keep things more interesting around here. So, you'll probably see posts exploring my recovery from overachievement and the process of shedding old identities and exploring new ones. I'll also write about spirituality and share guided meditations. Occasionally, I'll share poetry and stories from my life and reflect on things that inspire me. As Kelly Wild Miller writes, authentic creation doesn't start with strategy. It starts with something quieter, a pull, a flicker, a feeling inside you that says, this way. Who knows what will happen when you listen to that insistent call? Maybe after a year of lurking on Substack, you'll find yourself with 1,000+ words you can't wait to share and eager to meet others on the journey. Let's begin.